Charlie, through a single video, absolutely destroyed one of TikTok's worst creeps, otherwise known as Paul Breach. So, who's Paul Breach? What's he known for, and how did Charlie destroy him with a 9-minute video? Well, let's get into it. Paul Breach, or Beauty Beyond the Eye, is a 44-year-old man who makes TikToks. Nothing too bad, right? Well, for a start, these TikToks mainly consist of weird TikTok dances, which, for a 44-year-old man, a bit strange, but still not too creepy. But don't worry, the Paul Breach case gets a lot creepier, and it goes far past TikTok dances. Here's some of the strangest things Paul has done, and after I outline these, you'll be able to understand Charlie's brutal response to Paul. The first things I noticed when I saw Paul on my For You page a while back was the fact that he was only really interacting with young girls in his audience. Some people even decided to change their profile pictures to girls to see if it was just a coincidence or if he purposefully only spoke to girls in his chat. Surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, when these men changed their profile pictures, Paul would respond, and keep in mind, these same people would interact in his chat before, but previously they were met with no response from Paul. Again, this is not enough to be jumping to any conclusions. Paul even had an explanation.
Why do you only talk to girls in the comments? Because it's only the girls that are commenting, and if it's a comment from a guy, I say hi. I don't know. Maybe because I'm dating them all and we're having babies. Only to the ones I'm married to, which is all of them.
Okay, yeah, that explanation was very weird, and it's definitely not enough to really justify everything. He would be very flirtatious with these girls on his TikTok live, which, by the way, in the TikTok live chat, it doesn't say their age, but you can assume a lot of these girls would be underage, because it's TikTok. He would claim that he was married to all of these girls, which is of course very weird considering the fact that they are probably underage. It's safe to say his behaviour towards girls and the fact that his content was clearly aimed towards girls and underage girls is very alarming and unsettling to say the least. So far, nothing too solid though. Nothing concrete enough for us to say he's a total creep. Well, that would be the case, but if we were to dig a bit deeper, we would find that Paul, a couple years back, was liking pictures of 16 to 17-year-old girls on Instagram. They weren't regular pictures, but pictures of these girls revealing more than your average photo you take with your grandparents. Paul's explanation? Well, his explanation was a bit questionable. He was apparently liking the photos of someone who had recently recovered from cancer. Oh, okay, cool. Right? Well, the exact same person would come out saying that they had no connections to Paul. So this whole situation was just a bit strange. After this, Paul would rebrand to Beauty Beyond the Eye and continue to do what he does, ignoring any claims that he was doing anything wrong. It gets a lot worse for Paul, and if you thought that was it, there's a lot more we can go into. People started to come out with allegations against Paul. Paul was apparently spotted filming children at a school, although he denied doing any of this. Videos were made with people talking about their experience with Paul when they were underage. It's safe to say that there is a lot of weird stuff and a very, very eerie side of Paul, and while he denies any accusations, his TikTok account would be deleted. Still feels very weird to this day. But the Paul Breach lore keeps going, as he's not only weird for what I just spoke about, he also appears to have absolutely no feelings whatsoever. Let me play this clip from a TikTok live he did a while back.
Oh, there's a plane crash in Tanzania.
I mean, saying, "Oh no, I'm sorry," and then emoting right after is quite literally the most mindless activity you could possibly do. I mean, someone literally said there was a plane crash and he just started dancing. I hope you guys can see how Paul Breach made many people not only uncomfortable, but also confused by his weird actions. He came across to many like a robot who cared about nothing but impressing his young, impressionable audience. The final big event from Paul Breach, and something which is honestly quite sad and strange, is the fact that he faked having a girlfriend. Now, I'm not talking about telling your audience you have one when you don't. I mean literally playing sounds off your phone to make it seem like someone is in the room with you. I'll just play the clip.
Oh, bless you, love. Bless you. Love. Fucking hell. Jacob, thanks for the follow. Bless you. Bless you. So much. That is a fucking cracking impression of me, love. How you do that?
I mean, this one isn't creepy in the traditional sense, but it's just weird and kind of sad. What would be the reason to fake having a girlfriend? To prove you're not lonely? I've got no idea. I honestly don't know what's wrong with this guy, and neither did Charlie. Charlie had initially seen Paul Breach from a stream a while back, where he reacted to a video where someone basically gave a full summary of Paul's past. By the way, if you want to see that video, I'll leave a link down below. It's very, very interesting. Anyway, Charlie initially had some thoughts on Paul Breach throughout this video.
Yeah, I just have to imagine, regardless of what the age of consent actually is, this kind of behavior is probably still not accepted, rightfully so. This was interesting. Yeah, I don't know shit about Paul. Well, I didn't know shit about Paul. What a cool guy. Shame about that whole impregnating a teenager thing. He's such a good dancer.
But this was only the beginning, and Charlie was to make another video titled Infamous Creep, where he would go on to absolutely dismantle Paul and all the controversies surrounding him. Charlie would set up the video giving a background of Paul and set the scene of who this man was and the weird controversies that surround him.
I want to put a very yucky TikTok creep on your radar, and it's someone I'm sure some of you have heard of over the last year or so. He's become a bit of an infamous boogeyman that a lot of people have talked about. Most notably, Oompaville made a whole video on him, kind of breaking down all of the awful degenerate shit he's done. He was actually quite popular. He had over 1 million followers on there. His initial account was called Snapshot Eye. He then had to make other ones in lieu of a lot of allegations that came out and a lot of information that went public.
In classic Charlie fashion, he'd go on to make a joke about Paul's name.
His real name is Paul Breach, which is fitting, because he keeps breaching the restraining order parents have against him to protect the safety of their children online.
We can see that from the intro. Charlie's already poking fun at the name and repeating this angle that Paul is a weird predator. The controversy I talked about earlier where Paul just ignored the fact that a plane had just crashed, Charlie, like many others, thought this to be ridiculous and a bad way to respond to such a comment. And here's what he had to say.
He's blowing up yet again thanks to a clip of his that just went viral.
Oh, there's a plane crash in Tanzania.
So he gets this tragic news and immediately goes right back into lip syncing and shit. Now keep in mind, this man is in his 40s. Now, I'm sure you didn't need me to tell you that. You can look at him and immediately deduce this isn't exactly a teenage boy here doing this cringe-ass lip sync shit. Terrorists have infiltrated a local Burger King. Oh, jeez. And they're slitting the throat of the hostages. Jinkies. Hey, prayers to the families.
While going at the fact that Paul would be so ignorant at this comment, he pointed out the fact that Paul is in his 40s doing these weird lip-syncing lives on TikTok. But that wouldn't be it. He would further criticize Paul doing thirst traps at the age that he is.
His whole shtick is posting thirst traps. Even though, if you're thirsty, this isn't gonna quench it. What he's doing is just gonna be putting sand in your mouth and making it worse, like giving you the fucking cinnamon challenge. What he posts is the opposite of a thirst trap. It is alarming. He is way too old to be doing this garbage. And I don't mean to be mean and rude, but he's not exactly a 10 out of 10 looking gentleman here. It's also worth mentioning, this kind of thing isn't uncommon for his streams, though it is probably his most preposterous moment ever recorded. To go from horrible news right back into his god-awful thirst trapping.
I mean, it's true. To be the age Paul is, doing thirst traps and especially directing them at a younger audience is really, really odd. And Charlie picked up on this and humiliated Paul. But this was the lighter part of the video, and now we move to the part of the video where Charlie addresses some of the more darker allegations and observations about Paul.
He's no spring chicken. He's in his 40s here, and he constantly engages inappropriately with young girls in his audience, and it's something he's come under heavy scrutiny for a long time. He's actually somewhat of a pseudo-celebrity in the UK, where people sometimes have gone out of their way to find him and make fun of him directly to his face. There were a few young fans that would reach out to him, and he would always reciprocate being flirtatious. He even got called out on this pretty often, way before like he had to take his account down. I think he got banned. I don't think he took it down. But there were always people taking notice of like, Paul, why do you always just reply to like these really young girls.
Why do you only talk to girls in the comments? Because it's only the girls that are commenting, and if it's a comment from a guy, I say hi. I don't know. Maybe because I'm dating them all and we're having babies. Only to the ones I'm married to, which is all of them.
Who could have imagined that the 40-something-year-old man making thirst traps aimed at children would turn out to be a real weirdo? I can't believe it. It's always the ones you least expect, am I right?
Charlie would exaggerate how weird and creepy these actions of Paul was. Charlie points out the fact that it's no surprise that someone like Paul is being found of doing some bad stuff, as his content is very, very strange. Then there's this clip that Charlie played which made Paul look really dumb, if he didn't already look it.
I'd also like to show you another one of his clips that's somewhat blowing up right now. This is apparently one that he sent directly to a fan, and it is so uncomfortable to watch.
Lainey, smile. That is an order. And then jump in a cold bath. Get yourself smiling, get yourself happy. I've been a moody little... for a little while, and that is just stupid on my behalf. So I apologise if anything I've ever done has brought you in low mood. I know I was an idiot at the start of the week, and I've taken steps to fix that. But you need to smile, you need to be happy. You've got a beautiful smile. Please use it, perhaps.
His brain just blue screens there for a moment. Windows had to have a hard reset there. He had his own little Mitch McConnell moment during this message that he sent to one of his fans.
It's always nice to get a message from you, sweet. And it's always lovely to see that smile.
What an uplifting video. I know you're sad, but have you tried not being sad and just smiling? Because I'm ordering you to. In fact, you don't have a choice. Smile. And you will feel better, because it'll make me feel better. And you should be happy when I'm happy. Damn it.
Finally, Charlie would talk about the videos of Paul talking to himself when claiming there was a girl in the room. This was the final nail in the coffin for Paul.
Oh, bless you, love. Bless you. Love.
I just wanted to show you another clip of how unhinged his TikTok lives are. So sometimes he'll just play sound effects to give the impression that there's other people around him, always women. This one, I don't even understand what the thought process was. I think he sat on a whoopee cushion to make a fart noise, as if it was like a girl over there farting, and he's like, oh goodness, hey now, that butthole's not meant to be usable, it's just supposed to be aesthetic for me. Girls shouldn't be fucking farting. Despicable. And then he plays a very clearly stock sneeze sound effect, and then goes even further, love? And then gets angry about it, it seems.
Fucking hell. Jacob, thanks for the follow. So much. That is a fucking cracking impression of me, love. How you do that?
It's actually one of the saddest goddamn things imaginable. To be so fucking lonely that you have to fake interaction around you on a TikTok live stream where people go there mainly to make fun of you, because by this point he had already become kind of like a TikTok spittoon for people to stop in and spit a loogie into. But
Paul had been criticized for everything at this point, from the allegations to the thirst traps, and now to the fact that Paul was literally faking an interaction with a woman to make himself look cool. But if Paul wasn't already in a deep enough hole, he decided to respond to Critical's video. Yes, he responded, and it only made matters worse for himself.
I've taken those off for a minute. Right, guys, teenage boys, it's okay that another teenager's made a video on me. I'll get over it, alright?
Who's Charlie?
I ain't got a fucking clue.
Oh.
Instead of actually putting together a response, he just dismissed it completely, stating he didn't know who Charlie was, which is completely missing the point. He also claimed Charlie was a teenage boy, which obviously isn't true, but just shows that Paul will do anything to deflect the problem at hand and actually address any claims that were made. It's clear Paul has no interest entertaining any males who question him. If they ask him about the allegations, he would just act confused and laugh it off, saying there was no real problem at hand. It's clear that with a single video, Charlie completely embarrassed Paul Breach.